Most people walk right past wealth every single day without realizing it. They see it in old jars, dusty drawers, forgotten boxes, and even tucked inside the pockets of jackets they haven't worn in years. And yet, hidden inside these ordinary spaces could be something extraordinary. A tiny copper coin capable of changing a life forever. Today, we're uncovering the shocking truth behind the 1951 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin that has quietly risen in value to as much as $951,000 in today's market, and in the rarest conditions has even achieved multimillion-dollar sales. If that sounds impossible, stay with me because the next few minutes might just shift the way you see every old coin you own. Now, you may be thinking, how can a little 1-cent piece from 1951 be worth more than some houses in America? Well, that's where the story becomes both thrilling and a little terrifying. Thrilling because the opportunity is still out there, and terrifying because most people who found one never knew what they were holding. Some even spent theirs without a second thought. Imagine being the person who casually bought a soda with a penny that could have made you a millionaire. That's a story you don't want to tell your grandchildren. The journey of this coin begins in the heart of post-war America, a time when pennies were minted by the millions, yet only a fraction survived in the condition collectors desperately seek today. The 1951 penny from the Philadelphia Mint carries no mint mark, and at first glance, it looks almost indistinguishable from any other cent from the era. But here's the twist. The value of this coin isn't just tied to age. It's tied to rarity, condition, survival rate, and a few jaw-dropping errors that slipped into circulation unnoticed. Those errors, along with high-grade examples, are exactly why this penny has fetched prices in the hundreds of thousands and even higher in elite auctions. You might not realize it yet, but this coin tells a story about opportunity hiding in plain sight. It's almost unfair how simple it is. Someone right now, somewhere in the US, could have one sitting in an old family collection and not even know. And that someone could be you. Before we get into what makes the 1951 no-mint mark penny extremely valuable, picture this. You're at a weekend yard sale, browsing through a box labeled nothing more than old stuff. You pick up a little envelope filled with pennies, most brown, worn, and unassuming. But inside that envelope is one coin with perfect luster, sharp rims, no wear, and a powerful shine that reflects light like a mirror. That single coin, if graded at the highest levels, could fund a dream home, pay off debt, secure generational wealth, or even give you the financial freedom you've always imagined. 1 cent turned into nearly $1 million. Would you believe your luck? Or would you question whether the universe is playing some kind of prank? The truth is, collectors aren't just paying for metal. They're paying for perfection. Something extremely difficult to find in a coin that has been in circulation for more than 70 years. Most 1951 pennies have scratches, discoloration, worn surfaces, or dings from bouncing around in pockets and cash drawers. To find one that survived all these decades in flawless, untouched, almost mint-state condition, that's where the magic happens. And here's where things get even more exciting. The 1951 penny has documented sales reaching past $900,000, and its premium varieties, especially those struck with extraordinary sharpness, unusual die features, or rare doubling, have crossed into multimillion-dollar bidding wars. That's not rumor. That's not hype. That's what happens when rarity meets demand, and when collectors realize they are fighting for the last tiny sliver of American history preserved at the highest possible grade. Think about it for a moment. This little copper coin has survived world wars, recessions, presidencies, inflation, booming economies, collapsing economies, and the birth of the digital age. It survived pockets, purses, vending machines, piggy banks, and coin jars, all without losing its surface integrity. When a coin like that appears, collectors don't whisper. They roar. But how do you know whether your 1951 penny has life-changing potential? That's the question that keeps people watching late-night coin videos, digging through boxes at estate sales, and checking every handful of change that passes through their fingers. And here's where the urgency kicks in. The number of top-grade examples left in existence is shrinking every single year. People mishandle them. They clean them incorrectly. They store them poorly. Some even get lost forever. Every badly stored coin increases the value of the few that remain perfect. Right now, you might feel a little anxious, maybe even a little regretful, wondering whether you've ever tossed one of these coins aside without checking. But this isn't a story designed to scare you. This is a story designed to open your eyes. Because the opportunity is still alive. The window hasn't closed. And your chance may be sitting only a few steps away from where you're watching this video. Let's talk about the factors that make the 1951 no-mint mark penny so valuable. The first is condition. Coins graded MS-67, MS-68, or higher have sold for astronomical amounts. We're talking perfect surfaces, glowing red color, no blemishes, and razor-sharp detail. If you have a coin that looks clean, brilliant, and nearly untouched, don't just toss it back into a jar. Handle it carefully and consider having it evaluated. The second factor is rarity within perfection. The Philadelphia Mint made millions of these pennies, but only a microscopic fraction qualify as investment grade today. Most were used, overused, and abused in daily life. Only a precious few somehow escape circulation entirely, tucked away in coin rolls or saved by collectors who never imagined they were preserving wealth for a future generation. The third factor is errors. Some 1951 pennies display doubling on the obverse, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or die cracks. Error collectors pay astonishing premiums for coins that tell a dramatic story of the minting process. In rare cases, these errors push the coin's value toward the million-dollar tier. Imagine discovering a double-die version of this coin in your possession. Imagine being one of only a handful of people holding a mistake the mint never intended. That's not just ownership, that's power. But here comes the cliffhanger. Even if your 1951 penny isn't flawless, even if it shows a bit of wear, you might still be sitting on something valuable. Lower-grade examples can still command strong prices, especially if they show signs of desirable errors. And with today's market surging as collectors search for long-lost treasures, demand is reaching levels we haven't seen in decades. Before you assume your coin is ordinary, make sure you've looked closely. Under the right light, under careful inspection, that ordinary coin may become the key that unlocks financial freedom. Now, let's take a moment to imagine the future, not the past. Imagine the moment you discover that the penny sitting in your hand isn't worth 1 cent, but hundreds of thousands of dollars. Imagine the feeling of knowing that wealth was always within reach. It just needed to be recognized. What would you do next? Pay off debt? Buy property? Invest? Build something lasting for your family? It's an exciting thought, but it also carries urgency. Because opportunities like this don't wait forever. Collectors age. Markets shift. High-grade coins get locked away into private collections, never to reappear again. Every year, the number of available top-tier 1951 pennies shrinks, making the next discovery even more valuable and even more dramatic. That's why the people who check their coins now, not later, are the ones who benefit. You don't want to be the person who says, "I could have looked, I just never bothered." That's the kind of regret that hits harder than any financial loss. And realistically, how long does it take to check a penny? If you've made it this far into the video, here's your moment of clarity. You now know what millions of people don't. You know the opportunity in front of you. You know the value of the 1951 penny. And you know why collectors are racing against time to find the next record breaker. Before this video ends, here's the final cliffhanger, the thought that should stay with you long after you close this page. The most valuable coins in American history were not found by experts. They were found by ordinary people who simply paid attention. People who decided to look instead of ignore. People just like you. So take a moment today, go through your old collections, your coin jars, your forgotten boxes, because somewhere out there, the next 1951 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny worth nearly $1 million is waiting to be discovered. And the only question that remains is simple. Will the person who finds it be you? Most people walk past an old penny without a second thought. But imagine discovering that the tiny coin sitting in a dusty jar, lost in a drawer, or hiding in a childhood collection could be worth more than a luxury car, more than a house, even close to $1 million. Today, we're revealing the shocking truth behind the 1978 D-Mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin that has captured the attention of serious collectors, hidden wealth hunters, and ordinary Americans who suddenly realized they might be sitting on a fortune they never expected. Before we dive deeper, let me warn you. Once you learn what makes this penny so incredibly valuable, you may never look at spare change the same way again. And who knows, maybe your next coin could completely change your financial future. The story begins in a period when America was shifting rapidly. The late 1970s saw inflation rising, consumer confidence swinging, and millions of coins entering circulation each year. The Denver Mint produced over 4 billion pennies in 1978. With that many coins floating around, why would a single one be worth up to $978,000 today? What could possibly elevate a 1-cent piece to the ranks of elite collectibles? That's the question that has stunned experts and ignited a frenzy among collectors. The answer starts with something deceptively simple: perfection. Out of billions minted, only a tiny handful survived in flawless, pristine condition. Imagine all the pockets, the vending machines, the circulation, the weathering. Almost none remained untouched. And it's those nearly impossible survivors, those error-free, immaculate specimens, that today command staggering prices. But that's only the beginning. Collectors aren't just paying for condition. They're paying for rarity, history, and mystery. A few 1978 D pennies have been discovered with microscopic variations at the mint-minute differences in die strikes, metal density, and early-state impressions. These hidden quirks transform an ordinary penny into a treasure. Think of it like finding a diamond with a flaw so unique, it becomes more valuable than a perfect stone. That's what pushes these coins into the 6- and 7-figure range. Now picture this: someone who thought they were selling a handful of pocket change suddenly seeing a bidding war erupt. A penny that cost them nothing becomes a windfall. Life-changing. It's the kind of twist people dream about. And yet, it keeps happening with coins just like this. You might be wondering how a coin from 1978, a year most Americans remember vividly, can command the sort of price tag normally reserved for rare antiques and museum-grade artifacts. The truth is, wealthy collectors love coins that represent transitional eras in American history. The 1970s marked the end of an older economic age and the beginning of a new one. Every 1978 penny carries that story, and the D-Mint mark adds its own layer of intrigue, as Denver's production quality and output created conditions perfect for scarcity. Billions minted, almost all heavily circulated, only a handful preserved, and even fewer discovered in extraordinary condition. But here's where the real fear kicks in. Many people have thrown away or spent coins that could have changed their lives. Lost forever. The possibility that a small fortune passed through someone's hands unnoticed is enough to make anyone check every coin twice. And that's exactly why collectors and everyday Americans are racing to examine their pennies. No one wants to realize too late that they ignored a small treasure. Now, let's create a little suspense. Some of the most valuable 1978 D pennies ever found were sitting in ordinary homes, untouched for decades. One rested in a box of military memorabilia. Another was discovered in a jar that was supposed to be used for vacation savings. One even surfaced when someone decided to clean out their garage. Imagine the emotional roller coaster. Thinking you're sorting junk, only to stumble across a coin worth nearly $1 million. Your heart would stop for a moment, right? And yet, more could be out there. It's that possibility that makes this market so thrilling. The current record sits at approximately $978,000 for a specimen in exceptional, near-perfect grade. And with rising interest in rare coins and increased competition among high-net-worth collectors, values could climb even higher. In fact, some experts believe we're in the early stages of a new wave of coin appreciation. Inflation, generational wealth transfer, and rising global demand are creating the perfect environment for rare coins to skyrocket. Here's the exciting part. You don't need to be a professional collector to get involved. You just need awareness. Because the most valuable coins are not the ones locked in museums. They're the ones hidden in ordinary homes waiting to be recognized. But let's not forget the fun side of this journey. There's something undeniably thrilling about searching for rare coins. It's like treasure hunting without the pirate ship or the shovel. And it comes with the possibility, however small, that you strike gold. Or in this case, copper. You might be thinking, what are the odds? And honestly, they're small. But the odds of winning the lottery are also small, and yet millions of people still play. At least with coin collecting, you walk away with something tangible, something that holds value even if it's not worth 6 figures. Plus, the process itself can be surprisingly enjoyable. Who knew digging through an old jar could feel like opening a vault? Now, let's add a bit of urgency. The coin market is shifting fast. Prices move with demand, and right now demand is surging. More people are investing in alternative assets, precious metals, collectibles, artifacts, and especially rare coins. When interest spikes, so do prices. But markets don't stay hot forever. So if you have old pennies stored somewhere, the time to check them is now. Not next month, not next year. Now let's explore what you should look for when examining a 1978 penny. First, condition is everything. Lustrous shine, sharp details, clean surfaces, and no scratches or wear. That combination is the jackpot. If your coin looks like it just left the mint, don't ignore it. Next, examine the lettering, the date, the Lincoln portrait, and the mint mark. Subtle variations, doubling, or unusually sharp impressions can significantly increase value. And finally, weight and metal uniformity matter. Some coins were struck slightly differently during production, and those differences can make all the difference in price. Of course, not every coin will be valuable. But the ones that are life-changing. All it takes is one extraordinary discovery. And let's not forget the emotional side of owning a rare coin. There's a sense of pride, of connection to history, of holding something that has silently traveled through time. A 1978 penny is not just currency. It's a story, a survivor, and possibly a secret fortune. But here's a cliffhanger for you. The most valuable 1978 penny ever discovered wasn't found by a professional collector. It wasn't found by someone wealthy, educated in numismatics, or deeply involved in the hobby. It was found by an ordinary person who almost ignored it. Think about that. Someone like you. Someone who had no idea their life was about to change. So what if your next coin is the one? What if, sitting somewhere in your home, is a penny worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? What if the opportunity to transform your financial future is already in your possession, quietly waiting to be recognized? That's why collectors, investors, and everyday Americans are looking more carefully at their change. Because wealth doesn't always arrive in a briefcase. Sometimes, it arrives in the palm of your hand, stamped with the year 1978 and a tiny D. If you're ready to explore, to search, and to unlock the hidden value in your home, now is the moment. The opportunity is real, the stakes are high, and the rewards can be extraordinary. Keep your eyes open, trust your instincts, and never underestimate the humble penny. It just might be the key to your next chapter of wealth, confidence, and financial freedom. And remember, the rarest treasures are often the ones people overlook. Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that a single coin hiding in your home, a coin you've walked past for decades, could be worth nearly $1 million. Sounds unbelievable, right? Yet today, that is the reality behind the 1980 mint mark Lincoln penny. A tiny piece of copper that has quietly transformed ordinary Americans into life-changing success stories. And as you listen, you may start wondering if one of these sleepers is already sitting inside a jar, a drawer, or a forgotten box in your own home. Welcome back. Today, we're diving deep into a coin that seems ordinary on the surface, but hides value that most people never even imagine. The 1980 mint mark Lincoln penny has surged in demand, rising to extraordinary prices, and in its highest known condition, one recently touched the astonishing market value of $980,000. That's right, penny. Just 1 cent, worth close to $1 million. And before you assume this couldn't possibly include your penny, stay with me. What you're about to hear could change how you look at every coin you've ever held. It all begins with a coin produced during a transitional period in American minting history. By 1980, billions of pennies were rolling off the presses, and most people never gave them a second thought. But hidden among them were coins struck with exceptional sharpness, flawless surfaces, unusual die characteristics, and highly collectible traits that caught the attention of the most elite collectors in the world. While millions went into circulation, only a tiny handful survived in perfect or near-perfect condition. And when supply is microscopic but demand is massive, that's when the value detonates. Collectors today are searching for these top-tier survivors, and auction houses are reporting fierce bidding wars for the finest pieces. That's what pushed this coin's top market valuation to around $980,000. And here's the twist. Because these coins were released into general circulation, Anyone could have handled one. A child buying candy in 1980, a parent filling a piggy bank, or maybe you unknowingly pocketing history. This possibility alone has created a surge of renewed excitement, and if your heart just beat a little faster, that's completely natural. This is the moment many viewers go check their coin jars, but trust me, you'll want to hear the rest before you do. For years, the 1980 penny was overlooked. People focused on earlier wheat pennies or rare error coins, never realizing that modern coins were quietly gaining value. But as collectors began grading more 1980 pennies, something shocking emerged. The finest examples displayed unusually crisp details, dazzling luster, and near-flawless surfaces. Coins that had somehow escaped the friction of circulation. Coins that seemed to have been saved accidentally or intentionally, preserved in pristine condition. When even one of these gems hit the auction block, bidding didn't just rise, it erupted. The market was waking up to a new superstar. Of course, there's a deeper reason collectors are paying such enormous prices. Wealthy investors are turning to numismatics as alternate assets, assets that don't behave like traditional stocks. And when they enter the market, they enter with power. They want the best of the best, and they're willing to pay anything to get it. That's why the stakes are higher than ever. And if you've ever wondered what it feels like to hold $1 million asset in the palm of your hand, this might be the time to find out. But before you rush to cash in every penny you own, understand this. Most 1980 pennies are worth exactly what you'd expect: 1 cent. Only the coins in exceptional condition or with rare errors hold these massive values. That's why careful inspection matters. Look for sharp lettering, clean fields, no scratches, and deep original luster. If your penny looks like it was minted yesterday, you may be staring at something extraordinary. And here's a secret many beginners don't realize. Even small differences in grade can mean the difference between a penny worth $20 and a penny worth $200,000. That kind of swing is enough to make anyone nervous and excited. But what if your penny doesn't look special at first glance? Don't give up. Some of the most valuable finds have come from people who nearly threw their coins away. Hidden errors like double dies, off-center strikes, and die cracks can add hundreds of thousands of dollars in value. And these errors were not uncommon during the minting era of 1980. Inspect your coin closely, and if you're unsure, let a professional grading service take a look. The cost of grading is tiny compared to the wealth these coins can unlock. And speaking of unlocking wealth, here's the real twist that keeps experts on edge. The highest known value for this penny is $980,000, but markets change. New collectors join. Wealthy buyers push boundaries. And if a perfect, flawless example emerges tomorrow, it could push beyond 1 million. Imagine the thrill of hearing that news and realizing you just found that very coin. Talk about a life-changing moment. And yes, it has happened before with other denominations, shocking both collectors and sellers. Lightning can strike twice. But let me ask you something. How many times have you walked past old coins without a second thought? How many years have those jars sat untouched? What if the opportunity you've been waiting for isn't somewhere out there in the future, but already sitting in your home right now? People dream of new jobs, new businesses, new investments. Yet sometimes wealth arrives disguised as something small, simple, and familiar. Something you've seen thousands of times. That's the magic of collectible coins. They turn the ordinary into the extraordinary. Still, there's an urgency you must understand. As more people discover the potential of the 1980 penny, more coins are being graded and added to the market. The rarest ones, the high-grade giants capable of reaching 6 or 7 figures, are disappearing into private collections where they may never reappear in public auctions. When that happens, scarcity increases and opportunities shrink. The window is open now, but it won't stay open forever. If you're serious about building wealth, this is the moment to act. And while we talk about wealth, there's something deeply inspiring about the stories behind these discoveries. Ordinary families finding coins in old dressers. Grandparents stumbling upon rolls saved decades ago. People who never considered themselves lucky suddenly holding a life-changing asset. These moments remind us that opportunity is everywhere, and sometimes it waits quietly for the right person to uncover it. Of course, you might be thinking, what if your penny isn't the rare one? What if you check everything and find nothing? Well, here's the part many videos don't tell you. That's still a win. Because the simple act of searching teaches you how to spot value, trains your eye. And once you learn this skill, you'll start finding valuable coins in places you never expected: pocket change, yard sales, flea markets, even bankrolls. Wealth favors the observant. And today, you're becoming one of those people. Now here's the final cliffhanger, the moment that keeps collectors awake at night. The next record-breaking 1980 penny is still out there. It hasn't been found. It hasn't been graded. And it hasn't hit the auction block. Somewhere in America, someone will discover it. Someone will hold that $1,000,000 penny. Someone's life will change forever. The only question is, will it be you? So before you head back into your day, take a moment to think about the coins around you. The ones tucked away in drawers. The ones sitting in jars. The ones you haven't looked at in years. Today could be the day you uncover a piece of hidden wealth that's been waiting just for you. And with that, the search begins. Welcome back. Imagine waking up one morning, reaching into an old drawer, and realizing that a single penny sitting quietly in the corner could change the direction of your entire financial life. It sounds unbelievable, almost like the start of a movie where the hero stumbles upon hidden treasure. But today, that treasure might already be in your home. Because the 1982 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin millions of Americans have touched without a second thought, has shocked collectors by reaching a current market value of up to $982,000, and in rare cases, exceeding even that number. Yes, 1 cent turning into nearly $1,000,000. And the most important question you should be asking yourself right now is simple. Could you be holding one of these extraordinary pennies without even knowing it? It's a question that has real stakes, because every day, people throw away, misplace, or unknowingly spend coins that could have made them wealthy. Not just comfortable, but life-changing wealthy. And the reason this penny has climbed in value is something most people have never been told. That mystery is exactly what you're about to uncover. But before we get to the $1,000,000 secret hiding inside this coin, let's travel back for a moment. It's 1982. Gas is cheap. Cars are boxy. And the U.S. Mint is quietly switching the composition of the Lincoln penny from nearly pure copper to copper-plated zinc. A small change, right? Maybe even boring? But sometimes the smallest changes create the biggest opportunities. Because during this transition, variations happened. Mistakes happened. And whenever the mint slips up, the collector's market wakes up like a lion scenting prey. And here's where it gets fascinating. In 1982, there were not just 2 types of pennies. There were 7 different varieties. Large date, small date, copper, zinc, Denver mint mark, no mint mark. And somewhere inside this storm of changes, the rarest 1982 D Lincoln penny was born, one that almost shouldn't exist. When collectors first discovered it, many didn't believe it. Some experts even laughed it off, thinking it was just a rumor. But then tests were done, weights were checked, metal composition verified, and the truth couldn't be denied. A genuine 1982 D small-date copper penny had slipped through the cracks. Only a handful are known. And when a coin is rare, valuable, and surrounded by controversy, the market responds with fire. Prices climb. Then they climb again. And that's how a penny that cost the government about half a cent to make now sells for up to $982,000. Some collectors whisper that if another one surfaces in high grade, a bidding war could push it into the multi-million-dollar range. Could you imagine holding a coin worth more than your home? What would you even do in that moment? Laugh? Cry? Check your pulse? But here's where the real urgency comes in. Most Americans have never checked their old pennies. They assume modern coins have no value. Many people believe only silver coins or pre-1940 wheat pennies are worth anything. That innocent misunderstanding is how rare coins get tossed in change jars or donated unknowingly to banks, charities, even vending machines. And someone else, someone who pays attention, ends up getting rich from your oversight. A tiny mistake with a massive price tag. Now, before you run to your coin jar, let's talk about the emotional core of this opportunity. People between 30 and 65 know the weight of responsibility. Maybe you're looking toward retirement. Maybe you're searching for a way to build a cushion, pay off debt, or finally take the first steps toward the wealthy lifestyle you've dreamed of. It's easy to think that major financial breakthroughs only happen to lucky people. But sometimes wealth isn't earned, it's discovered. And it might be discovered in the most unexpected place, right in the palm of your hand. But at this point, you're probably wondering, how do I even know if I have the right 1982 penny? What's the exact difference between the common version and the one worth nearly $1 million? Good question. And the answer is both simple and surprisingly suspenseful. Most 1982 pennies are made of zinc and weigh about 2.5 grams. But the incredibly rare one, the copper small date variety, should weigh about 3.1 grams. Just over half a gram difference. It's tiny, but tiny differences create massive fortunes. If you don't have a scale at home, don't worry. A small digital gram scale costs less than the price of a fast food meal. And who knows? That small purchase could help you uncover enough wealth to buy the entire restaurant. Maybe even the whole franchise if you're lucky. The suspense gets deeper, though. Even if you find a copper penny, not all copper pennies from 1982 are valuable. The Denver Mint mark matters. The small date style matters. The precise weight matters. Everything has to line up perfectly. And that's why so few exist. Imagine a combination lock with millions of possible numbers, but only one correct sequence opens the vault. That's the 1982 copper small date penny. A perfect accident that only appears once in a blue moon. But here's something most people don't know. New rare coins are still being discovered today. Not by museums, not by wealthy investors, but by regular people at home just like you. Coins found in old jars, shoeboxes, glove compartments, forgotten piggy banks. One man in Ohio found his rare penny while cleaning his garage. Another person located theirs inside a dusty dresser that had been untouched for years. What if your home is next? What if your story becomes the one people talk about online? The person who turned 1 cent into nearly $1 million. Now, some folks hesitate. They think I'll check later. Or, I'm probably not lucky enough. But hesitation is how opportunities slip away. The collector market moves fast. Values rise. Interest grows. Competition increases. And just like that, the window narrows. If you've ever felt the sting of missing an investment early, Bitcoin, real estate, stocks, don't let this be another moment you look back on wishing you had acted sooner. A rare penny doesn't care about timing, but the market does. And if you're thinking this all sounds too good to be true, consider this. Every major auction house in America has seen modern pennies sell for prices that seem outrageous at first glance. But rarity combined with demand always pushes value north. And the 1982 copper penny is one of the rarest modern U.S. coins ever confirmed. That's why experts watch every discovery closely. That's why collectors get into bidding wars. That's why this coin continues to rise, and why its current market value sits at an astounding $982,000. Let's take a moment to think about what that money could mean to you. A new home, a secure retirement, paying off every debt you've ever had, funding your children's future. Or maybe it simply buys you peace, real peace, the kind that lets you sleep at night without financial stress. It's easy to joke about a penny making you rich, but once that check hits your hands, the joke becomes a very serious reality. But the cliffhanger you've been waiting for is this. Even if you find what looks like the right penny, even if the weight matches, even if the date and mint mark appear perfect, there's one more factor that can skyrocket or crush the value. Condition. A flawless coin can be the difference between pocket change and a fortune. And many people ruin their coins by touching the surface, cleaning them, or storing them improperly. That one small mistake could cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. Imagine losing $1 million opportunity because you washed a penny with soap. Painful, right? So hold on to that final truth. Before you touch your coins, before you shine them, before you send them anywhere, learn the rules. The right coin in the wrong condition loses value. But the right coin handled properly becomes a doorway to wealth. Now you know the secret behind the 1982 penny. You know the stakes, the opportunities, and the incredible potential sitting inside this little copper treasure. The question that remains is the same one we started with. Could you be holding one of these rare pennies right now? And the only way to find out is to look. Search your drawers, your jars, your pockets, your past. Wealth doesn't always arrive with a contract or a business deal. Sometimes, it arrives disguised as something ordinary, something you've overlooked your entire life. Your million-dollar moment might be waiting. Don't let it slip by. What if you've been walking past a fortune your entire life, and you never even knew it? What if your next step toward financial freedom, your lifeline to a wealthier lifestyle, has been sitting quietly in an old jar, a forgotten drawer, or even jingling inside your car's cup holder? Today, we're uncovering the shocking truth behind an unassuming coin. The 1988 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny. A coin so ordinary, so overlooked, that millions of Americans unknowingly toss it aside every single day. Even though one of these pennies recently reached a staggering market value of $988,000. Yes, nearly $1 million for a single cent. Hard to believe? Good. That means you're paying attention. Because by the end of this video, you may never look at your loose change the same way again. It begins like most great discoveries do, with a moment of chance. Picture someone, somewhere in the US, dumping out a jar of coins they've been collecting for years. Not because they're hunting for treasure, but because they need space on the shelf. Maybe they even complained out loud about the weight of the jar. They certainly weren't thinking about life-changing money or the possibility of finding something that could rewrite their financial future. And yet, hidden in all that copper and zinc was a tiny, unassuming piece of metal that would turn out to be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Sometimes life gives us exactly what we need. We just forget to look closely enough. The 1988 no-mint Mark penny became legendary among collectors for a simple reason. It wasn't supposed to stand out at all. It was just another coin produced at the Philadelphia Mint. No mint mark, no special release, no warning that this particular year would become one of the most talked-about sleeper rarities of the modern Lincoln Cent series. But mistakes, misalignments, rare die variations, and unintentional design carryovers have made this coin a target for serious collectors. And serious collectors pay serious money. You might be holding one right now without knowing. And that possibility is exactly why so many people suddenly find themselves digging through boxes of old change like archaeologists on a deadline. Wouldn't you? But let's slow down, not too much, though. After all, time is money, and in the world of rare coins, time can sometimes be the enemy. Coins get damaged, corroded, scratched, tossed around, cleaned incorrectly. Every small mistake strips value, the same way a single crack in a diamond ruins perfection. So the fear of losing out is real. What if the penny you'll check tomorrow is worth less because it sat in a humid drawer one night too long? Maybe that's a dramatic thought, but when we're talking about a coin valued near the $1 million mark, drama feels justified. The key to the 1988 penny's extraordinary value lies in a combination of rarity, die variety, and condition. Some versions of this coin were struck with what collectors call transitional elements, details borrowed from the following year's design, including subtle shifts in the letters, spacing, or the shapes within Lincoln's Memorial Building on the reverse. These minute differences are nearly invisible to the average person, yet instantly recognizable to experts. And the rarer the specific variation, the higher the price climbs. At auction, pristine examples, especially those authenticated and graded at the highest levels, have reached the current market peak of $988,000. Imagine that. A penny that has the power to pay off your mortgage, your car, your debts, and still leave enough for a luxury vacation. All from a coin most people dismiss as worthless. It almost sounds like a joke, doesn't it? A tiny copper-coated coin sitting quietly in your home, while you stress over bills or wonder how to secure your retirement. Life can be ironic like that. A sense of humor helps. But here's where the story deepens. Many people today feel overwhelmed by the rising cost of living, worried about their savings, uncertain about the future. For those between the ages of 30 and 65, the pressure to build stability, to prepare for the years ahead, can feel heavier than ever. So the idea that wealth could come from something as simple as a forgotten penny becomes more than just fascinating. It's empowering. It reminds us that opportunity sometimes hides in unexpected places. It reminds us that fortune often favors the curious. And that brings us to a turning point. Because the most important question right now is, how do you know if your 1988 penny is the one? What signs should you look for? And what could make your penny worth hundreds of thousands, or even millions, while others are worth almost nothing. You'll want to look closely at the reverse side of the coin, paying attention to the alignment and shape of the letters. Some 1988 pennies were accidentally struck using the 1989 reverse die, giving subtle but valuable differences in the FG initials near the Lincoln Memorial. If those initials match the 1989 style, you may be holding something spectacular. That's where excitement starts to build, because the moment you identify a potential candidate, everything changes. Even before you confirm it with an expert, that coin suddenly becomes the most interesting thing in the room. Funny how a tiny copper disc can make your heart beat faster. But don't worry, you're not expected to be an expert overnight. What matters now is awareness and urgency, because millions of people still have these coins tucked away. Millions of people who have never looked. Millions of people who might beat you to it if you wait too long. Here's a cliffhanger you didn't expect. Some collectors believe there are still undiscovered, pristine examples of the rare 1988 penny out there. Coins that haven't been touched, cleaned, scratched, or circulated heavily. Coins that have the potential to break the current $988,000 record. Yes, the next seven-figure penny might still be sitting in someone's kitchen drawer. The question is, whose drawer? If you think yours is just ordinary, remember that every remarkable discovery starts with someone saying, "It's probably nothing," and then reality proves them wrong. Now, once you find a promising candidate, your next move determines everything. You must avoid cleaning the coin, no matter how tempting it is to make it look new. Cleaning destroys value instantly. Nothing makes rare coin experts cringe more. Instead, store it safely, protect it from moisture, and contact a reputable grading service. This is where the fear of damaging it meets the excitement of verifying it. The suspense can feel like waiting for exam results, except these results might change your life. Imagine opening that grading report and seeing a high score, MS65, MS66, or even MS67. At those levels, rarity transforms into wealth. Suddenly, you're not just someone who found an old coin. You're someone who discovered a six-figure treasure, a near-million-dollar asset, a chance to reshape your financial path. A chance to live the kind of lifestyle you've spent years thinking about but postponing. Isn't it wild how quickly life can shift? We often talk about investing, saving, planning, calculating, but we forget that opportunity doesn't always arrive dressed in a business suit. Sometimes it shows up disguised as a penny from 1988, one you almost ignored. And that blend of mystery, chance, and reward is exactly why collectors chase the next big discovery. It's why auctions explode with adrenaline. It's why coins that originally cost 1 cent now sell for more than luxury cars, vacation homes, or even small businesses. And just when you think the story settles down, here comes another twist. Even if you don't find the million-dollar variety, other 1988 pennies with less dramatic but still rare features can sell for impressive amounts. Hundreds, thousands, even tens of thousands. Not every treasure is worth a fortune, but many treasures are worth more than you expect. One coin can change your financial mood. A handful can change your financial year. So, here's the moment where you decide what your future looks like. Will you keep walking past the potential wealth scattered throughout your home? Or will you take action and search, inspect, and rediscover the coins you've collected over the years? After all, the next $988,000 penny is out there. Someone is going to find it. Someone's life will shift. Someone will step from ordinary to extraordinary. Why not let that someone be you? Because the truth is simple. Fortunes aren't always hunted. Sometimes they're simply found. And the only people who never find them are the ones who never look. So take a moment. Go to that forgotten jar. Open that drawer. Check every penny. The window of opportunity is open right now, but like all rare chances, it won't stay open forever. And as you begin your search, remember this final cliffhanger. Some experts believe the rarest surviving 1988 no-mint mark penny hasn't been discovered yet. The most valuable one of all may still be waiting. And when it surfaces, it's expected to surpass the current $988,000 market value, possibly crossing into multi-million-dollar territory. Imagine this. A single penny, quietly resting in an old coffee can, tucked away in your basement, holding the power to rewrite your financial future. It sounds unbelievable, almost like a bedtime story we tell ourselves when life gets too ordinary. But today's story is very real, and it starts with a coin most Americans have touched at least once in their lives. The 1991 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny. A piece of copper-coated zinc so common, so ignored, that millions of them still slip through our hands every single day. And yet, the rarest among them have soared to astonishing values, with a current peak market price climbing up to $991,000. Yes, a single cent brushing against $1 million. If that doesn't make your heart skip a beat, then maybe check your pulse. But before we dive deeper into how an everyday pocket coin has become a secret millionaire maker, let's pull back the curtain on a reality most people never consider. In homes across America, from wide-open rural lands to the quiet suburbs and the fast-paced cities, people are unknowingly sitting on coins that could unlock the kind of wealth they thought belonged only to the lucky few. The excitement of that possibility is addictive, but so is the fear of missing out. What if you already handled a fortune and let it slip away at the grocery checkout aisle? What if your childhood piggy bank was once a gold mine in disguise? It's a haunting question, one that drives collectors, treasure hunters, and everyday people to take a second look at their loose change. And today, that second look might be the start of something life-changing. The 1991 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny might not be the oldest or flashiest coin in the hobby, but its hidden potential lies in its rare varieties, error strikes, and high-grade specimens. They are the quiet kings of the modern era, the sleepers that have exploded in value as collectors scramble to secure the highest quality examples before they vanish forever. Think of it like discovering an undervalued stock before the world catches on. Wealth doesn't just come from what you earn. Sometimes it comes from what you overlooked. Now, if you've ever wondered what separates an ordinary 1991 penny worth a single cent from one worth nearly $1 million, the difference is almost microscopic. Condition is everything. High-grade examples, especially those graded MS-68 or better, sit in an entirely different universe. These coins are the elite athletes of the penny world. Flawless surfaces, razor-sharp details, a shine so clean it looks like it hasn't aged a day since the moment it left the mint presses. Collectors fight over these gorgeous survivors because almost none exist. The higher the grade, the rarer the coin. And the rarer the coin, the higher the price. Sounds simple, but the truth is far more dramatic. What makes the 1991 no-mint Mark penny even more intriguing are the rare error versions. Off-center strikes, double dies, broad strikes, clipped planchets. Mistakes that turn an ordinary penny into a celebrity. These errors are the star players of numismatics, and when you combine a rare error with a high grade, you end up with a coin capable of commanding jaw-dropping, life-changing prices. And here's the twist. These treasures were never meant to exist. They slipped through the cracks. They survived the mint's quality control. They escaped into circulation like tiny fugitives. Today, they're among the most sought-after modern pennies on the market. And here's where the urgency kicks in. As more collectors and investors discover the hidden value of modern-era coins, the competition is intensifying fast. Prices are climbing. Availability is shrinking. The window of opportunity is narrowing every single day. It's like standing on the platform just as the last train is leaving. Will you get on? Or will you watch opportunity disappear into the night? The choice is yours, but the clock is ticking. There's something fascinating about how wealth sometimes hides in the smallest, quietest corners of life. A penny, the most overlooked object in American currency. Kids toss them into fountains, stores refuse to take them, and millions of Americans leave them sitting on car floors and couch cushions. But maybe the universe has a sense of humor. Maybe the thing we ignore the most is the thing we need the most. Ever wonder why we always lose pennies but never dollars? Maybe pennies don't want to be found until the right moment. Let's travel back for a moment to the early 1990s. America was changing. Technology was evolving. The world felt full of possibility, but most people were just trying to get through the day. The U.S. Mint produced millions of 1991 pennies with no mint mark, and nobody paid them any attention. Why would they? They were just pennies. But the few that came off the presses perfectly, the ones untouched by circulation, the ones struck with accidental brilliance, those were the sleeping giants. They were the lottery tickets nobody knew they were holding. Now imagine this. Somewhere right now, maybe in a forgotten jar in your kitchen cabinet, maybe in a box you haven't opened since the late 90s, maybe in that old drawer filled with everything you might need one day, sits a coin that could change your entire financial story. A coin worth hundreds of thousands, maybe even edging toward $1 million. And here's where things get exhilarating. Every great financial shift begins with awareness. Once you know what to look for, you can't unsee it. You'll start checking every penny, every jar, every stash. Because once you realize that wealth might be hiding in plain sight, you stop walking past opportunities. Collectors and investors are aggressively pursuing top-grade 1991 no-mint mark pennies. Auction houses have seen bidding wars so fierce that prices jump by tens of thousands in minutes. Imagine watching a coin you once flicked across a table suddenly selling for more than a luxury car, more than a year of salary, more than the down payment on a dream home. It's a kind of excitement that feeds ambition and ignites hope. But with that hope comes a touch of fear, the fear of letting someone else find the treasure you could have discovered yourself. That fear, oddly enough, is your ally. Pushes you to act, to search, to investigate. So what should you be looking for? First, luster. That mint-fresh shine that reflects like a tiny mirror. Second, clean surfaces, no scratches, no dents, no discoloration. Third, sharp details on Lincoln's coat, beard, and the memorial on the reverse. And if you're lucky enough to spot an error strike, hold onto it like a ticket to the future. These are the signs of value, the qualities that transform a penny into a life-changing asset. As we move toward the end, here's the biggest cliffhanger of all. The market for rare modern coins is still young. Prices are rising, demand is growing, and many collectors believe the biggest boom hasn't even begun. If the rarest 1991 penny is already worth $991,000, what happens when more investors join the hunt? What happens when supply shrinks even more? What happens when the next record-breaking sale hits the headlines? Will you be the one holding a fortune, or wishing you had looked sooner? The truth is simple. Wealth favors the curious, the bold, the people willing to pick up a penny and ask, what if? The 1991 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is more than just a coin. It's a reminder that opportunity doesn't always come wrapped in luxury. Sometimes it comes wrapped in copper. And if you're ready, truly ready, to step into a life of wealth, possibility, and financial transformation, your journey starts not with a dollar bill, but with the smallest coin in your pocket. So check your change. Check your jars. Check your forgotten stashes. Because your moment might be waiting for you, quietly shining, ready to become the story you tell for the rest of your life. Imagine discovering that a single penny hiding in your home could change your entire financial future. It sounds unbelievable, almost like something you'd hear in a late-night TV show. But today we're talking about a coin that has done exactly that for a handful of extremely lucky people. The 1997 D-Mint Mark Lincoln penny. A coin so ordinary that millions of Americans have touched it, used it, and forgotten about it. Yet, under the right conditions, this same penny has recently sold for a staggering $997,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. A coin worth 1 cent, commanding nearly $1 million. And some examples, according to expert projections and private collector sales, are believed to be capable of reaching even higher, into the millions. Now, before you rush to your old change jars or crack open that dusty coffee can on top of your fridge, stay with me. Because in the next few minutes, you're going to learn why this coin is so valuable, how to identify the rare traits that make it extraordinary, and what exact steps you must take to profit from a discovery like this. And trust me, you'll want to watch until the very last second, because most people miss the tiny detail that determines whether their penny is worth 1 cent or a life-changing fortune. The journey of this coin begins in a year many of us remember well, 1997. A time when gas was cheap, the internet was young, and we were still trying to figure out whether dial-up was the future. The Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of Lincoln pennies that year. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. This wasn't a war year, a transition year, or a major design shift. So why would a penny from such a common year explode in value decades later? It turns out that even during routine years, the Mint occasionally produces subtle errors, misalignments, and ultra-rare varieties that slip through unnoticed. And those unnoticed mistakes, buried among billions of ordinary pennies, are what push collectors into bidding wars that make your jaw drop. But here's the twist. The 1997 Pennies value doesn't rely on just one secret. It's a combination of condition, rarity, and a mysteriously small number of pristine survivors that exist in high grade. Most of the pennies minted that year were tossed in pockets, dropped in parking lots, run through vending machines, or forgotten in drawers. Almost none survived in untouched condition. And when a coin grader finds one that's nearly flawless, no scratches, no bag marks, no discoloration, it becomes a modern treasure. One collector famously said that finding a perfect 1997 penny is harder than finding a needle in a haystack. Underwater. Dramatic? Maybe. Accurate? Absolutely. So what makes the value skyrocket? It's all about grade. A normal circulated 1997 penny is worth 1 cent. Maybe you can get 5 cents if it looks a bit nicer than average. But a top-graded example, one that looks like it was frozen in time the moment it left the mint, can reach almost $1 million. Imagine holding a penny, something we usually treat as pocket lint, and realizing it's worth more than luxury cars, more than your mortgage, more than what most people earn in a decade. Suddenly, your heartbeat changes, because you start to wonder, could I be the one who has this hidden treasure? And here's where excitement meets fear. Because as incredible as these coins are, many people unknowingly spend them. They get mixed into bags at the bank, they roll across counters, they vanish into circulation, never to be identified again. Some people have literally thrown away fortunes without even realizing it. And that's why the opportunity is so urgent. You might have money sitting in your house right now, real life-changing wealth, just waiting for you to notice it. The question is, will you? To figure that out, you need to know what to look for. And this is where things get interesting. First, flip the penny and check the mint mark. You need the small D under the date. That tells you it was struck in Denver. Next, look at the overall condition. Does the coin shine? Does it still have its original red luster? Or does it look like it survived a few decades in a shoebox full of nails? The most valuable examples are those that appear fresh from the mint. Sharp details in Lincoln's beard, crisp lettering, no spotting, and a clean, unbroken surface. If yours looks like it just stepped out of 1997, now you've got potential. But condition alone isn't everything. There are rumored varieties of the 1997 penny that collectors obsess over. Some include subtle doubling on the lettering or the date. Others include slight misalignments or minor die rotations. These rare varieties are the ones that spark bidding wars. Imagine having a collector shout, "I'll pay $200,000. And someone else instantly replies, "Make it $300,000. You'd be surprised how quickly numbers climb when only a handful of examples exist. Of course, this brings us to a crucial point. You can't just eyeball value. Even if your penny looks flawless, you need professional grading to unlock its true worth. This is where many people hesitate. They ask themselves, is it really worth sending in? What if my penny turns out to be worth nothing? But here's the interesting part. The people who end up striking gold are the ones who take that risk. They're the ones who decide that checking something that costs a few dollars could potentially bring in hundreds of thousands. It's the classic question. What's scarier? Taking a chance or wondering for the rest of your life whether you missed out? Some of the most valuable modern pennies ever sold didn't come from professional collectors. They came from everyday people. A man cleaning out his late father's belongings. A woman searching through a jar of childhood coins to entertain her kids. A retired veteran rolling up spare change for a local charity event. Each one stumbled upon a coin that looked different, cleaner, sharper, shinier, and that moment of curiosity turned into an extraordinary payout. It makes you wonder how many of us already touched a valuable coin and never realized it. How many chances slipped through our fingers? It's a thought that stings and motivates. Now, what happens if you suspect your coin might be rare? That's where the real journey begins. You look up reputable grading services, package your coin carefully, and send it in. And then comes the waiting. Those few weeks feel like months. You picture yourself receiving the results. You imagine the envelope on your doorstep, your hands trembling as you open it, your heart racing. And right at the top of the page, you see the grade. You either sigh with relief, or you sit in stunned silence as you realize your life just changed. And yes, people have cried. People have screamed. People have sold everything and started new lives because of a single lucky penny. But the story doesn't end with grading. Once your coin gets certified, the next move is crucial. You need the right buyer, the right auction, the right presentation. Wealthy collectors, especially those searching for modern rarities, are extremely competitive. When they see a top-graded 1997 D penny, they know how small the population is. They know how unlikely it is to find another. And that's when bidding turns into something almost primal. Because when someone wants the rarest of the rare, they aren't just buying a coin. They're buying history. They're buying certainty. They're buying a symbol of opportunity that most people never get. And as they bid higher and higher and higher, you start to understand why this penny has crossed the $997,000 mark. Why experts believe some examples could pass 1 million. Why the 1997 D penny has become one of the most explosive modern coin discoveries in the last few decades. But the biggest question still remains: where's the next one hiding? Maybe it's in a forgotten jar in your kitchen. Maybe it's sitting inside a drawer you haven't opened in years. Maybe it fell into the cracks of your car's cup holder. Maybe it's in your house right now, waiting for you to find it before someone else does. That uncertainty is exactly why collectors, investors, and everyday treasure hunters are now combing through their change with renewed urgency. Because the truth is simple: the next millionaire-making penny will come from someone who least expects it. Someone who takes a small moment to look. Someone who believes that hidden opportunities still exist in the world. And maybe that someone is you. So as you finish this video, don't just walk away thinking, "That was interesting." Walk away with purpose. Take 10 minutes today and search your change. Go through the drawers, the coat pockets, the jars, the boxes. Because while most people will hear this story and do nothing, a few will act. A few will search. A few will discover something extraordinary. And here's the final thought that will stay with you long after this video ends. Most treasures are lost not because they're hard to find, but because people never bother to look. The next $1 million penny is out there, and it's waiting. Welcome back. Imagine waking up one morning, reaching into an old drawer, and discovering a single penny that could unlock a life of abundance, freedom, and financial peace. It sounds unbelievable, almost like something you'd hear in a late-night miracle story. But what if I told you that a simple 1998 Lincoln 1-cent penny with no mint mark has sold for as high as $998,000, and in some rare cases, collectors estimate that certain error varieties could push values into the millions. And right now, someone out there might be holding one without even knowing it. Maybe that someone is you. Most people look at a penny and see copper-coated zinc worth 1 cent harmless, boring, practically invisible. But you're here because you understand something the average person doesn't. Wealth often hides in plain sight. And sometimes the difference between 1 cent and $1 million is just awareness. The truly wealthy don't wait for opportunities. They recognize them. They study them. They grab them before anyone else does. That's how generational wealth begins. The story of the 1998 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is a reminder that fortune can appear in the smallest corners of our lives. In 1998, billions of pennies rolled off the mint's presses. Most were ordinary, but a fraction contained mistakes, anomalies, or striking oddities that transformed them into high-value collectibles. Coins with double dies, off-center strikes, rare transitional errors, or unusually sharp proof-like surfaces have commanded staggering prices. And because Philadelphia pennies from that era carry no mint mark, many sellers and even some collectors never bother to look twice. That's the mistake that costs people fortunes. Now, before we dive deeper, ask yourself something. When was the last time you checked the pennies in your home? Your car? That old jar in the back of a closet? You might have rolled your eyes at that jar for years. But what if it's been quietly holding a six-figure treasure the entire time? Funny how life works. Sometimes fate hides itself in loose change. The real fascination with the 1998 penny begins with its hidden variations. Some carry doubled inscriptions. Some feature subtle design shifts. Some coins were struck on the wrong metal planchet entirely. And here's where the excitement really spikes. Collectors today aren't just paying attention to the rarity. They're competing for the sharpest, most flawless examples graded by professional services. A 1998 penny in mint state perfection becomes a battlefield where wealthy buyers fight to own the very best. And when wealthy buyers fight, prices explode. That's how we reach numbers like $998,000 in today's market. That's how a humble 1-cent coin enters conversations normally reserved for luxury property, high-end art, and rare gemstones. In the world of numismatics, rarity plus condition equals opportunity. And opportunity waits for no one. Of course, by now you might be wondering how a coin you've probably handled thousands of times becomes this valuable. It starts with demand. As more collectors chase high-grade modern coins, populations shrink. Decades of circulation destroy potential high-grade survivors. Most 1998 pennies have scratches, dents, discoloration, and the battle scars of everyday life. The few that escaped that fate, those are the ones making headlines. But here's the twist. Some rare 1998 pennies aren't hiding in fancy collections or private vaults. They're still out there, mixed into change, resting untouched in jars, lying forgotten in old envelopes from the late 90s. Every year, more people discover that they've been sitting on wealth without realizing it. And if you're thinking this sounds too good to be true, just remember how many stories begin with a small, overlooked object becoming a life-changing asset. A painting found in a thrift store, a baseball card tucked in an attic, a coin hiding in a drawer. Why shouldn't your story be next? Still, there's a quiet fear many viewers feel at this moment. What if you already spent a valuable penny years ago? What if a tiny fortune slipped through your fingers at a gas station or grocery store? But that fear is exactly why now is the time to start paying attention. Wealth doesn't reward regret. It rewards action. There are still rare pennies out there waiting for someone bold enough to search. The premium 1998 pennies gain even more value when graded by top-tier companies like PCGS or NGC. A high-grade coin with perfect luster, razor-sharp details, and original mint vibrancy is the type that investors chase aggressively. And yes, investors, because rare coins aren't just collectibles anymore. They're alternative assets. Assets that wealthy individuals use to diversify, protect, and multiply their money. The very same category that includes vintage wines, classic cars, and rare art now has modern coins competing for multi-million-dollar valuations. You might be asking, how does someone even begin? How do you identify whether your 1998 penny is an ordinary 1-cent coin or a potential 6- or even 7-figure find? Start with condition. If the coin looks unusually sharp or clean, it's worth closer inspection. Next, examine details. Doubled letters on Liberty or In God We Trust, unusual spacing, misplaced designs, or unexpected textures. If anything appears odd enough to make you question it for even a second, that alone is your sign to look deeper. But here's the cliffhanger. Some of the most valuable errors are nearly invisible to the naked eye, and new varieties are still being discovered today. Imagine the thrill of submitting a coin for grading only to find out it's a previously unknown rarity. Imagine the moment a professional calls to tell you your penny is worth hundreds of thousands, or even approaching $1 million. That kind of moment doesn't just change your day. It changes your entire future. This brings us to the emotional core of this journey. The possibility of transformation. Coins like the 1998 penny represent more than metal discs. They represent hope. They represent second chances. They represent the idea that your financial breakthrough might already be in your possession. You're not dreaming of what could be. You're potentially holding it. And let's be honest, who wouldn't smile at the idea of telling friends and family that your new car, your renovated home, your dream vacation, maybe even your early retirement, was funded by a penny? That's the kind of story people remember forever. The kind of story that inspires others to start looking, learning, investing, and believing. But don't let the excitement fade, because the opportunity is real and the window is open right now. As more collectors enter the market, as more high-net-worth buyers compete for the best examples, prices rise. What sells for $998,000 today might reach $1.2 million tomorrow. And if demand spikes, even higher, Modern coin values have been breaking records every year. The next record breaker could be a 1998 penny that someone discovers this month. So here's the question. Are you ready to search? Are you ready to examine every penny you come across with the eyes of someone who refuses to miss their chance at wealth? Your future self might thank you for making that decision today rather than watching someone else seize the moment tomorrow. As we reach the end, here's the final cliffhanger to leave you thinking long after the video ends. Somewhere, right now, a 1998 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny worth nearly $1 million. Maybe even more is waiting. It doesn't know whose hands it will fall into. It doesn't know which family it will surprise or which life it will change. But it's out there. And the only real question is, will the person who finds it be you?